Metaverse studio. Hi, everybody. Hi. Appreciate everybody joining us as we're going to go through all these games. I shouldn't say all these games. It's just one tonight. Great game, I think, if you're a betting man, between the Steelers and the Colts. Colts offense averages 15.7 points per game, second fewest in the NFL. Steelers offense averages 17 points per game. The over-under set at 39.5 points. I think this is great underplay. I really like that. We'll talk more about that in the next hour as we get ready for game time. Looking at some of the notes for this game, I want to give out some early player props. The Steelers defense gives up a lot of pass yards per game, 272. That's the second most in the NFL. But they're actually pretty stiff against the run, 103 rush yards per game, sixth fewest in the NFL. I think they're going to target Jonathan Taylor. That's going to be the focus of the defense tonight for the Steelers. Stop Jonathan Taylor, focus on trying to put 7, 8 guys in the box, and ultimately force Jeff Saturday and Matt Ryan to put their offense up in the air and pass it to Michael Pittman and whatever other targets the Colts have. So I think this is a good opportunity to take Matt Ryan over 20 completions. That's the Butt Fumble Sports player prop of the night. I really like that. I think there will be an interception. Matt Ryan, in his last 2 games, hasn't thrown a pick, but is tied for the second most interceptions this year with 9. I think Matt Ryan will throw an interception, so over half an interception is a player prop bet that I like for this game with Matt Ryan. But that said, the Butt Fumble Sports prop bet of the night for Monday Night Football between the Steelers and the Colts is Matt Ryan over 20 completions in this game. He's only been under 20 completions once this year. It came in week 2. Even with Jeff Saturday as the head coach, even while the Colts are trying to run the ball and be more focused on running the ball, they have actually been throwing over 20 completions per game. So I feel really strongly about that. Bill Wallace. I don't even know who Bill Wallace is, so I'm going to take the under on his sacks. I don't expect Bill Wallace to have over half a sack. Who's Bill Wallace? I do like TJ Watt getting a sack in this game, while the Colts, again, like I said, while the Colts are known for running the ball under Jeff Saturday, and we've seen it the last few weeks, I think they're going to have to go back and pass. This Steelers defense is really bad against the pass. I like Pickett or Pittman. That's an interesting one, just because are you saying Pickett the quarterback versus Pittman, or are you saying George Pickens the wide receiver versus Pittman? Because if it's receiver versus wide receiver, I like Pittman. I think the Colts are going to have to pass the ball. I think Matt Ryan's favorite target is Michael Pittman. So I like Michael Pittman in this game to put up some yardage. Okay, here's a trade. Mixon for Chase straight up. Are you getting Mixon or are you getting Chase? I'll put it this way. I'm crazy about Jamar Chase. I think he's going to have a monster December. Once he's healthy and he's right, getting back on the field, I expect Yeah, I'm going Pittman, man. I like Michael Pittman Jr. in this game. I think he's going to have a big game. I actually think Najee Harris could have a better day. I think he may run the ball better. I think Kenny Pickett may struggle at times and throw a pick. I do agree Micah Parsons is the defensive player of the year. As for that trade that was put up a moment ago, I like Jamar Chase in that trade. If you're trading Joe Mixon for Jamar Chase, I love getting the better of that deal. I don't think of the Bengals as a great running team. I know he had that one day, but I'm not crazy about it. Okay. I appreciate you giving me the shout out about this rookie defensive tackle. I wasn't aware of him. I'll keep my eye out for him. I haven't exactly been scouting the Colts, especially on the defensive line so far this year. So, yeah, I saw that, Dave. A number of defensive players up front for the Colts are questionable. Franklin, I expect to actually be either out or dealing with illness. He's been sick all week. So Alex Highsmith, I think, is the better play. Alex Highsmith, I like that more. I like Kenneth Walker. James Conner or Kenneth Walker. I think they found something in the running game and, more importantly, in the offensive line. And I could see the Arizona Cardinals kind of disintegrating over the coming weeks. I think they're going to go through some chaos. What we saw from the press conference with Kyler Murray that guy continues to be one of the most immature players in the NFL. Whoever thinks he's a leader. Pierce and White for Amari Cooper. Man, with Amari Cooper getting Deshaun Watson back, it's challenging because I think Deshaun Watson in some ways is going to take away from Amari Cooper, in part because Deshaun Watson's going to naturally run the ball more, where Jacoby Brissett was willing to sometimes stand in the pocket, take some hits, look downfield, and Amari Cooper was his favorite target. That said, Deshaun Watson, he's so talented. I do think that's going to help Amari Cooper, unfortunately. So Pierce and White for Amari Cooper. I think Dameon Pierce's time is kind of running short. I think he was kind of a darling in the first half of the year when the Titans were more competitive. Now that they're fading, I don't like Pierce nearly as much. I like White. I think he had a decent day last week, but I think Amari Cooper is the best player in that trade. So whether you're acquiring him or you're keeping him, Amari Cooper is the guy I want on my team. Again, I want to give out some my favorite player prop for tonight's game, the Fumble Sports best bet for the player prop. Matt Ryan, over 20 completions in this game. He's only gone under that mark once this year. It was in week 2. The Steelers have one of the worst defenses against the pass in the NFL, so I like Matt Ryan over the completions. Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert next week. I lean towards Herbert in part because, one, we just saw maybe the best game Trevor Lawrence has played all year, and I don't expect him to have back-to-back great weeks. But to a different point, I really want to see what the status of Travis Etienne is. Trevor Lawrence relies on him so much. I know that the backup played really well in for him last week, but I hesitate. I do want to see what the matchups are. I did scout out what the matchups are for the coming week. Wow. Now that I say it, man, Trevor Lawrence is playing the Detroit Lions. The Lions have obviously one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Who are the Chargers playing? Chargers are playing the Raiders, also terrible. So I think you're in a great spot either way. I actually do lean towards Justin Herbert, though. I like him in that pick between Trevor Lawrence. Paris Campbell or George Pickens. I actually like Pickens in that spot. I do think Pickens is going to get at least one deep ball down the field. I think Kenny Pickett is going to challenge the secondary at least once. And I think George Pickens, whether it's a touchdown or not, I could see that being a 40, 50-yard pass play. Paris Campbell, I think he'll be involved in the offense, but not nearly as much as Michael Pittman. Tua or Herbert, is that in a trade? Tua's playing the San Francisco 49ers defense next week. I'm going Herbert in that play. Pierce for Williams straight up. If you're getting Mike Williams, I actually do like that. Again, I know he's injured right now, so you're buying him low and you're getting him and believing that he's going to be healthy for this playoff stretch. But I like that move. Najee versus JT. That's kind of a different. I think JT will ultimately have the better fantasy night. I actually think when it comes to player props, Najee Harris is more likely to hit his over rushing yards total. I think just Jonathan Taylor might hit his rushing yard total. He will not hit his rushing yards plus receiving yards total. Take the under there. Tua or Dak. Again, Tua is going to end up playing the 49ers defense in Week 13. I'm not crazy about that one at all. Meanwhile, who do the Cowboys play? Cowboys are playing the Colts. I like Dak next week. Oh, good luck. I hope Pat Freiermuth delivers for you. Hate for you to lose your fantasy week. What's my record on player props? Last week I went 7-10. This week I went 6-9 so far. This will be the 10th. So I'm usually around that 60-70%. I would say with Fumble Sports, what we usually put out, we're between that 60 to 80% range. Anyone who tells you they're hitting all their bets, they're simply lying to you or they're not really gambling. We've been fortunate this year that we've stayed above the 50% mark. I think we've done a good job following trends. What we try to do at Fumble Sports is we try to sometimes strip away the brand names. You kind of lean too heavy into a Tom Brady or into an Aaron Rodgers, but trends really stand out, how teams play certain times of the week, certain times of the day against certain opponents. So we've been fortunate to take advantage of that. Obviously, I warn everybody, spend your money and gamble with caution because it is gambling. But that said, it's a fun way to spend a night if you're going to watch a football game. if you're going to trade Dameon Pierce, think of fantasy football trading just like you would a stock. I want to sell high, I want to buy low. So think of a player who's coming off of injury or who's coming off a bad performance, who's someone who just threw a couple of picks, who's someone who just had a fumble, who's someone that I could offer Dameon Pierce for. Unfortunately, Dameon Pierce's star has kind of fallen a little bit. I wish you had traded him a couple weeks ago when he was a really hot commodity, especially because, and this is something to think about for next year, rookie running backs usually kind of teeter out in their production around week 12, week 13, week 14, because that matches the college football schedule. So when they get into December, the number of touches, the grind of the season usually gets to them. So usually it's good to trade some of those rookie running backs that you drafted early in the year and actually move on from them. Jacobs for Cooper and Kamara. I think you're making the mistake of if you bought Josh Jacobs right now, you're buying him at the absolute peak of his value. I wouldn't trade for him right now. I think Amari Cooper is about to, again, I think he may get fewer targets, but he actually might get more touchdowns, and the offense might be slightly more explosive. Alvin Kamara has just been one of the biggest disappointments of the year for me. He's a bust this year in fantasy, so really disappointing. Start 2, Paris Campbell, Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson. I'm leaning towards Freiermuth. Absolutely. I think he's going to be in the red zone target tonight. Between Campbell and Deontay Johnson, I'll lean towards Johnson. Thoughts on Dalvin Cook? Well, I think Dalvin Cook is going to play some opponents in his division, and that's just going to help him. I think right now the fact that the offense is playing well in the passing game is going to benefit Dalvin Cook in the long run. I think TJ Hawkinson was one of the better additions that we've seen midseason for any team in years. He opens up the game so much. Justin Jefferson now gets a lot fewer safety looks. It allows the middle of the field in the seams to be available. That's really going to help Dalvin Cook moving forward. Thoughts on Debo and Mike Evans? Both hurt me at the moment. Yeah, unfortunately, one of the player props I did miss, and this is something, but Fumble Sports, we like to tell you where we miss as much as where we hit. But Debo Samuel, he's just been injured. That's unfortunate. I thought Mike Evans was going to be targeted and have at least 5 receptions on Sunday. The fact that he only got 2, really disappointing. I thought it was one of the reasons they lost. When Mike Evans is targeted, they win. When he's not, they lose. I do think Kamara is a bit washed. I think if they got rid of him right now, he might go to a good situation like the Chiefs and he'd have a rebirth. But I do think Alvin Kamara's star has kind of peaked. He's at the end of his prime years. I really like Pacheco. It just is a matter of which defense they're playing. Really talented running back. Love how he kind of darts. He still kind of goes north to south, but he's a cut runner. I really like that. Really impressive player. I think they got a great one in the draft. Would I do Juju and Singletary and Jacobs for McCaffrey and Waddle? Absolutely. McCaffrey and Waddle are going to have monster Decembers. I could see both of them being 2 of the best fantasy players. Eagles are fraud. Man, hating on some Eagles. I do think that we've seen the Eagles kind of play one of their better games last night. I still remember what you do when you take away A.J. Brown. It's not the same team. So if teams like the 49ers, if they take away A.J. Brown, if Diggs of the Cowboys takes away A.J. Brown in this matchup in the next couple of weeks, will the Eagles still be able to win? I'll be really interested to see that. Palmer and Boyd or Latavius Murray. I'm selling Latavius Murray. I don't want any part of the Broncos offense. Get me away from that. Boyd, I do think his targets go down with Jamar Chase coming back. That said, he's going to see a ton of single coverage when he is on the field. Palmer, same thing kind of goes for him. If Mike Williams is back, his targets go down. Between Palmer and Boyd, I lead towards Boyd. He's more of a true number 3 in that offense, and they don't really have I like Hayden Hurst, but they go to Boyd more often, where I think Gerald Everett will even cut into Palmer's receptions and his targets. Bengals and Chiefs. I am so excited about that game next week. The fact it's in the jungle, I do think makes a difference. If it was an Arrowhead, I'd really like the Chiefs. Right now, the Chiefs are a 2.5-point favorite. If I had to get some early money down on it, I would take the Bengals. I'd buy the 1.5, and I'd get Bengals +4. I think that's a great opportunity right now. I could see that line coming down with the news that Jamar Chase is going to be healthy. public money is going to come down on the Bengals. I think getting the Bengals right now at +4 is a great opportunity. We do a show, Butt Fumble Sports, at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Follow us at Sports Fumble on Twitter. We do a show every Tuesday on Twitter Space where we go through the entire week of gambling, every game, gambling trends, early lines to take advantage of. I'm a big believer that Tuesday and Sunday are the best days to take advantage of gambling because you're getting Vegas when they're still trying to manipulate public money. So get it at the beginning of public money or at the end of public money, but don't wade into the water right in the middle of changing tides. So looking towards next week, I love that early line, taking the Bengals +4. Juju and Jacoby for Kirk. I would absolutely do that. I'd take Juju and Jacoby over Kirk. Yeah, I know you're talking about Jacoby Myers. I take that in a heartbeat, absolutely. Oh, good luck in your fantasy play. I hope Pickens and I hope that Pittsburgh defense gets you an interception. Matt Ryan, 9 picks this year, tied for second most. Hope he delivers one for you. Hopefully they house. Who to keep in fantasy, Joe Mixon or Christian McCaffrey? Christian McCaffrey, not even a question. Christian McCaffrey, he's the one that you're going to want to keep long term because he's now perfectly fitted into that San Francisco offense. I think he's going to be Kyle Shanahan's favorite weapon. I actually think that's one of the reasons Deebo Samuel's contract, it's a good thing they signed him this year as opposed to trying to go into this offseason and sign him because I think Christian McCaffrey is going to take away some of his touches. I would trade Mixon. I think this is a good time to trade him. I think he may have a couple good games, but I think this is a time where you could trade him. I know he's coming off of injury, so his peak values come down from that 5-touchdown game. But I don't see the Bengals being a running team down the stretch. I see them being a passing team. Oh, that's giving up way too much for Dalvin Cook. Yeah, if you're trading that much for Dalvin Cook, that's foolish. What do I think Christian Watson's going to be? I think he's a talented wide receiver. I really like that catch and run. It's one thing to have deep passes that you haul in from Aaron Rodgers. It's another thing to show speed in the open field, make moves that make defenders miss. So I like what I'm seeing from Christian Watson, but I'm fading him a little bit because I really don't know what the Green Bay Packers are going to be right now. Is Aaron Rodgers going to play? Is Jordan Love going to finally step in? I think once there's a little bit of clarity in the situation, I'll feel better about Christian Watson. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play next week, and I do think he's going to benefit from playing the Bears. As we know, Aaron Rodgers claims to own the Chicago Bears. So I do think Christian Watson may be a good play this upcoming week, but it depends on who you have in their options. I'm leaning towards playing him if in a flex play. I wouldn't want him as a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. It depends on who you have. Well, P. Ryan, you're not really in a sell high situation because people know he's a backup to Joe Mixon. So that's one in which I'd actually keep him on the off chance that Mixon goes out again. Just stash him on your bench and keep him. I don't think you're going to get a lot of value in a trade for him. I hope for your sake, JT is going to go off tonight. I don't feel great about it. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense allows 103 rush yards per game, 6th fewest in the NFL, and obviously is playing better since T.J. Watt came back. Jim Harbaugh Jr., is that because the glasses, or is that, I don't know why these are tinted the way that they are right now, but usually they're not this dark. I don't know what's doing that. But that said, congratulations to all the Michigan fans out there on your big win. I don't think you're necessarily the number 1 team in the country. I still think that belongs to Georgia. But congratulations on sealing your fate as a college football playoff team. If you beat Purdue in the Big Ten championship, which if you don't, I feel bad for you. Again, just want to talk a little bit about tonight's game. We have about an hour until kickoff for tonight's game. Feel free, again, to add in your questions. I'll definitely get to them. The Colts are 2-point favorites in this one. Colts offense scores the second fewest points per game, but you have to account for the addition of Jeff Saturday. They've been much better since he took over. They pound the running game and make sure that Jonathan Taylor gets plenty of touches. That said, as I mentioned a moment ago, Steelers pretty good on defense against the run. That said, they are not good in points per game. 24.4 points per game allowed by the Steelers defense, sixth most in the NFL. Over under for this one is 39.5. I do lean slightly towards the under, but that said, I'm not crazy about it, so I wouldn't actually look towards the total in this game. Who could you get for Pierce? Again, as I mentioned a moment ago, think of some players who are kind of coming off of down weeks or guys who are coming off of injury that you may want to consider. I'm trying to think now of someone who you might want to look towards. Funny enough, I think Dalvin Cook, I know we mentioned him earlier, if people are willing to trade Dalvin Cook. If you're willing to wait on ETN, depending on what his injury is, you may want to scout him out and offer Pierce. You might be worse for wear for a week, but actually get the better of it. I'd look towards the Washington Commanders as well. Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. I think Dameon Pierce, I know you may think, oh, he's the number one back. He's going to continue to get as much production as anybody. But I actually think opposing defenses are going to focus on taking him away. So those are two running backs I think of. And pretty much everyone on the Cleveland Browns right now. They have renewed value because of Deshaun Watson. Whether I want him playing on Sundays or not, or whether I think he should be suspended, it really has more to do with what the NFL deems. But that said, the Cleveland Browns players are definitely more valued today. Trade Eckler, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Olave for Jonathan Taylor. No, I'd keep Jonathan. I wouldn't want Jonathan Taylor that bad. I prefer Eckler, Amon-Ra, and Olave. As for Jamar Chase and Amari Cooper, I'd actually rather have Jamar Chase between the two. ETN, Higgins, and Wilson for Jamar Chase and Latavius Murray. Ooh, good deal. I prefer to have ETN, Higgins, and Wilson. I really like Jeff Wilson Jr. I think he's going to fit really well into the Dolphins' offense. Higgins, just because Jamar Chase is the number one, it actually may help T. Higgins get bigger production out of his targets. Fewer targets, bigger production. And ETN, I'm a big fan when he's healthy. You traded Mixon, Stevenson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Robinson for Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, and Latavius Murray. Oh, and DK. Okay, wow, what a mega trade. I'm not crazy about it. I feel like you gave up a lot of the players I really like. But Nick Chubb and DK Metcalf, two players that are fantastic. But wow, what a mega trade in your league. Can't imagine what kind of reactions you got from other people. I don't think the Steelers are going to win tonight. I think the Steelers are going to cover the 2.5. I would buy it up to 4. I'd get Steelers +4. But I actually think the Colts are going to win. I think this is a close game. I think this comes down to a field goal at the end, a last possession kind of situation. But I actually think the Colts will win this game at home. If for no other reason, I think Jonathan Taylor and Matt Ryan will control the game a little bit better than Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett's going to have to take chances. If he hits them, that's the only way I see the Steelers winning. I don't think he hits enough of them. I like the Colts in this one. Colts to win on the money line. I like Steelers to cover. I don't like 2.5 too much. If you can get that to 4 by the 1.5, I think that's the better spot to be in. McCaffrey, Lamb, and Kadarius Toney for Diggs, Chubb, and Olave. Oh, what an awesome trade. Man, you guys have put together some great trades in your leagues. I'm really impressed. I see so many of these trades. People hit me up, and they're so weak, so I really love these trades. I love Diggs, Chubb, and Olave as players, but I think McCaffrey, Lamb, and Toney is the better players to have for fantasy because those are 3 playoff teams. You want your fantasy team having players in playoff situations. Even Toney with the Chiefs, he's going to be put in games where he needs to have production. The Chiefs need to score. They need to be productive. The Lamb, same thing. McCaffrey, same thing. So McCaffrey, Lamb, Toney, that's the trade I like more. I know that's Sawyer. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to win by a field goal. I think it's going to be a field goal that puts them ahead. It's like a 2018 kind of game. But that said, I would prefer if you could get over the 3. So if you can get it at 3.5 or 4, that's the play. So to your point, no, I understand if the Colts win by a whole field goal, they don't cover. I meant they kick a field goal at the end to win, and thus they win, and they may cover that. But no, I like the Steelers to cover. Oh, I just skipped ahead and I missed someone's. Oh, there we are. Moving forward, should I go with Jamal Williams or Latavius Murray? Jamal Williams. Latavius Murray, throw out the Broncos offense. Just pack them away. I wouldn't want anything to do with the Broncos offense. It's too late in the year now. I know what they are. I don't like anything. I don't care if Latavius Murray has a monster day. He can fool me once, but then I'll feel duped if I play him again. Don't go near the Broncos offense. Really like Jamal Williams. He's had a fantastic year, so I really like him. Oh, wow. Okay, Christian McCaffrey and a second pick next year for Eckler. No, Christian McCaffrey and keep the pick. I don't know why you want Eckler that bad. Eckler is in an offense that has a lot of mouths to feed, and as good as he is, he's not having a crazy offensive year. I'd much rather have Christian McCaffrey in the pick. Okay, so Steelers or Colts defense tonight. I think both defenses get an interception tonight, but I prefer the Colts defense simply because the Steelers are bad against the pass. I think Matt Ryan, as I mentioned earlier, the player prop bet of the night that I'm playing is completions, over 20 completions for Matt Ryan. I think the Steelers defense up front, they'll get a sack or two. The only thing that makes me a little hesitant is there's some injuries and some sickness, some illness going around the Colts up front, their defensive line. Only reason for concern, but I lean slightly towards the Colts defense in this game. D-Hop and Devontae Smith for Connor and Garrett Wilson. No. Look, Garrett Wilson had a really great game. I think he's a nice flex play, but I'd much prefer to have D-Hop and Devontae Smith. Hollywood Brown or Amari Cooper, not even a question. Amari Cooper, especially with Deshaun Watson coming back, it makes the offense that much better. And Hollywood Brown, I just don't trust Arizona's offense. They look like they're going to implode. I wonder if Cliff Kingsbury makes it to the end of the year. I wouldn't trade Tony Pollard. I think he's having a great run right now. I wouldn't trade him, especially because I think the Cowboys are going to have to rely on him in big games against the Eagles and other teams. So I would keep Tony Pollard. I know he only had a 6-point fantasy week. I think that was more of a reflection of how the passing game went. I would keep Tony Pollard. I appreciate that. I hope by fading me that you made a lot of money. We do our best to give out winners, but I'm certainly not going to say that everyone we're going to hit on the season. We've hit between 65 and 70% overall. We're usually between 60 and 80% week over week. This week was a bad week. I won't lie, simply because I did not expect Tom Brady to lose that game, and I thought the Seahawks were going to win. Those two games cost me dearly yesterday. I also had the Ravens winning, but I don't necessarily feel bad about that. I didn't have them in too many parlays. But Tom Brady losing that game against the Browns was incredibly disappointing. And as for the Seahawks, they should have covered that game like 4 different times. And the fact that they didn't just lose, but the manner in which they lost with that Josh Jacobs run, really disappointing. The Seattle Seahawks went from one of the better stories in the NFL a couple weeks ago to they go to Germany, they lose to Brady, they lose that game against the Raiders, those back-to-back losses. They could get knocked out of the playoffs because as the Washington Commanders start to emerge in the wild card race, all of a sudden the Seattle Seahawks are in a bad place. So McLaurin or Debo next week. I mean, it's a little too early for that, only because I'd like to know what the health status is of Debo. But I do lean towards Terry McLaurin simply because the Washington Commanders with Taylor Heineke, it's been a rebirth for McLaurin. He plays so well with Heineke, so I prefer that. Peyton Hillis or Jamal Charles. I hope this is a Madden league. Shout out to Jamal Charles. I felt like he was a cheat code at times in that game. That said, Peyton Hillis, one of the better covers, the one-hit wonder that is Peyton Hillis. Would you do James Conner and Debo for Tyreek? Given that you have the running backs that you do, yes. The answer is yes. I like Connor and I like Debo, and I think Tyreek Hill will start to come down in his production. He had such a great first 10 weeks of the season, first 11 weeks. But yes, given the running backs that you have, that's a good trade. I think Najee Harris is going to have a good running game tonight. I think he's going to get over his rushing yard total. I believe the player prop I saw on the sports book I go to was like 64.5 yards. I think he gets over that. Oh, congratulations. Great call on your parlay. Good on you, Browns, Raiders, and Jags. See, yeah, you went the opposite of me. Good on you. You saw it very differently. I was okay on the Jags on a cover play. I could have seen that just because the Ravens aren't that good this year, and going down to Florida, I could see that getting to them. So that one I was okay with. But the Raiders, I can't bet on the Raiders anymore. I don't know what they are. So I felt so good about they were so bad on the road going into yesterday. Seahawks so good at home. All the trends led me to believe that the Seahawks were a better bet. Good on you to pick the Raiders. And as for the Browns, again, I guess the magic's gone from Tom Brady. Like, whatever the Bucs were, they're no longer that. Maybe it's the offensive line, maybe it's the defense, but I thought that was actually one of the worst losses of the week is the Bucs loss, simply because that's a game I think we expected Tom Brady to win 9 out of 10 times, and the fact that he didn't shows that they're in a worse spot than everyone thought. Freiermuth over 50 yards, yeah, I like that play. I think that's going to happen. Congratulations on my transition. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. My thoughts on Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson's a punk, and I think he got what was coming to him. When you're a punk and you don't take responsibility for your mistakes, when you don't own up to the fact that you let, your team down. And I think in a locker room, this is different than college. College, you can be the star quarterback and people are intimidated by you. You're the senior, so freshmen or juniors or sophomores aren't going to come at you. But this is an NFL locker room. There are lives on, livelihoods on the line. And so Zach Wilson, your poor play keeps players from getting contracts. Your poor play keeps players from getting that next paycheck. And I think that Zach Wilson, one of the signs of his immaturity is that he doesn't realize that this is a business. That if you don't do well at this, you're going to be selling insurance. You're going to be a high school quarterback coach. And a lot of these guys don't want to do that yet. They want to get one more year out of being an offensive lineman. They want to get one more year out of being a backup tight end. And so when you have bad games, when you play poorly, and then when you don't own up to it, yeah, you're letting down 52 other grown men, not to mention coaches. Their jobs are obviously on the line. So I was not only happy to see Zach Wilson benched yesterday, not even in a uniform, but benched. Like, you're not even touching the field. I was happy to see that. It showed Robert Saleh really owns his team. He's really in control. But I was so happy to see Mike White play well, because it's that classic story of Mike White, the guy who's been fighting for a job, a bit of a journeyman at this point, who's trying to get in, break through because he wasn't the second overall pick in the draft. He gets his opportunity and he delivers. Meanwhile, Zach Wilson's put in his place. I just thought it was the perfect, sometimes the NFL does things in such a way in which you think, oh, that was perfect. That was symmetry, or that was kind of a harmony moment. And the fact that it was Garrett Wilson who had such a big day, I thought Garrett Wilson's comments in the locker room the week before were one of the major ignition points that kind of started Zach Wilson towards getting benched. Because Garrett Wilson, I thought, showed more leadership in his post-game comments in the locker room than Zach Wilson did at the podium. And that's a rookie wide receiver who's standing up and saying, yeah, I didn't play well enough. The offense didn't play well enough. We let our guys down. We let our defense down. We let our fans down. I was really impressed by that. So Zach Wilson, I don't know what his future is going to be, because I think New York Jet fans have moved on from him really quick. We've seen it a couple times this year, funny enough, with quarterbacks in the same draft. The New England Patriot fans were ready to move on from Mac Jones like ridiculously quickly. I didn't understand that. I didn't think Bailey Zappi was worth it. I think Mac Jones is the better pick. But for the Jets, Zach Wilson had one good pro day throw. And other than that, I really don't understand why all this hype, why all this love. I don't get it. So I think Jet fans feel very similarly. They're seeing what Justin Fields is doing. They saw what Mac Jones did last year. They're going, why did we draft Zach Wilson? We're one quarterback away from contending in the AFC. I mean, and they're in the toughest division in the conference, and they're contending. So with that said, I loved what I saw from Kevin White. I like what I see from the Jets. I think just like you're seeing in Washington, the backup earned the starting job, and you won't see the old starter again. Carson Wentz and Zach Wilson, they're going to the land of broken toys. I don't see them getting back on the field this year in starting roles. Steelers plus 2.5 in the under. Lock it in. I like that pick, Blake. Good call. Will Jonathan Taylor get 60 rushing yards? Yes, he will. Even while facing a strong Steelers defense, I think he will get over 60 yards. Whether he gets to 100 yards is the question. I see him getting closer to 85, 80 yards. I could give the Browns a little credit. I could. I actually want to give the Browns credit in that I thought they fought for Jacoby Brissett. I actually thought I saw a team effort and a lot of players, especially post game. I thought they credited him in that victory in ways you don't usually see. I thought it was a great week for backup quarterbacks. In kind of my notes of kind of the things that stood out to me, backup quarterbacks had a great week. Taylor Heineke won, though he didn't play that well. The Commanders won. Jacoby Brissett, Mike White. I know this is a bit of a joke, but Jimmy G was a backup going into the year. So week 12 in the NFL was a great week for backups who came in, whether it was this week or over the last month or two, and played well. And we're seeing in this league, when you get stable quarterback play, good running game, good defense, you can win a lot of games. You know, you don't have to be Patrick Mahomes every week to win in this league. Who wins tonight? I'm going with the Colts to win. I think the Steelers cover, but I would buy the 1.5. I'm not crazy about Steelers plus 2.5, so I like Steelers plus 3.5 or plus 4 if you can buy the 1.5. Keenan Allen or Metcalf, it depends on who they're playing. Keenan Allen going up against the Raiders secondary, the Raiders defense. I'll take Keenan Allen next week. Should I bench Debo and Pierce at running back? I mean, it depends on their matchups. It depends who you're benching them for. Who wins the AFC North? It's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. The Baltimore Ravens just aren't that good a team this year. They're not that good on defense. They don't have the stars on offense. They don't have a good wide receiver, period. If you're relying on Deshaun Jackson to be a step-in star, deep pass wide receiver, you've got a problem. They don't have an identity on defense. This is a defense that always has an identity. They always have one galvanizing, scary player. I don't even care if it was Nada up front or Terrell Suggs, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. They've always had someone that kind of defined their identity. I don't know who that is right now. I love Roquan Smith. I thought that was a great trade. But I was really disappointed in what I saw from that defense in the second half yesterday. And again, if it's not Mark Andrews, who are they throwing to? Who is who is a wide receiver they can throw to that I can trust? This team, if I were the Ravens, I actually would make a big-time gamble. I would do whatever it took to acquire the first-round asset to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Get Marvin Harrison Jr. to Baltimore for Lamar Jackson and have Mark Andrews and Marvin Harrison Jr. with Lamar Jackson, and that's the equivalent to me of a Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, where great wide receiver, reliable on first down, second down, third down, but also a tight end that can do everything a wide receiver could do. That if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, that's the move I make. But right now, I think the Ravens are going to fade. I don't see. They've given up so many leads in second halves. They're just not a good team, and we keep relying on them because we think of Harbaugh or mesmerized by Lamar Jackson. It's just not a good football team. And the Bengals are trending up. They did not play well at the beginning of the year. Joe Burrow did not have a training camp. It clearly took him a while to shake off the rust. He's playing really good football right now. They're getting healthier. I really like what I'm seeing out of the Cincinnati Bengals. So I've got the Bengals winning that division. And by the end, I think they're going to comfortably win it. Wow, Harrison's only a sophomore. I thought he was eligible to come out of the draft for this year. If he's not, wow, I can't wait to see what he's going to be drafted at. To me, he's like a top 5 pick. Just unbelievable talent. Lamb or decaf? I lean towards Lamb only because I think that I saw, the Cowboys are going up against the Colts next week on Sunday Night Football. I like that. Seahawks are going up against the Rams, so that's going to be DK Metcalf against Jalen Ramsey. As bad as Ramsey's been at times this year, I think I like Lamb in that one. Thoughts on Pittman tonight? I think Pittman will be the number one wide receiver in terms of stats for the Colts tonight. I could see him getting a touchdown. I actually think he's going to have a pretty good game. I think he could be the number one receiver tonight in terms of stats for either side, unless George Pickens gets one deep pass that also goes for a touchdown. But I think Michael Pittman will have a good day. Steelers are not good against the pass in the secondary. I know TJ Watt will get some pressure, but where is OBJ going? He's going to the Dallas Cowboys. I hate to say it. I know a lot of Cowboys fans will be thrilled about it, but OBJ is going to be a Dallas Cowboy. Jerry Jones is going to pay him. He's going to fit right into that offense. He knows he can get a ring in Dallas. I think he's comfortable playing under the spotlight. I think it's going to fit in. He's going to fit in perfectly, and it's more because the other options aren't there. I don't like LA for him, obviously, now. I don't like New York for him now. I don't like Minnesota. I've heard a lot of people talking about Minnesota. I don't see that happening. And I don't see him going to Buffalo. I think he wants to be in a place where he can win, he can be warm, and he's around a lot of other talent. So I like the Cowboys for OBJ. The Chargers really disappointed me this year. Someone's asking about what I think of the Chargers this year. They really let me down in that I thought they were going to make a big step forward. And I'm hearing rumors that that's the job Sean Payton wants. He's most interested in the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Chargers. If either one of those teams moves on from its head coach, we know the Cardinals are going to move on. So if the Chargers move on, he might want that one more. I think Justin Herbert, a lot of people are starting to take shits on him. I really think Justin Herbert's one of the most talented young quarterbacks in the league. No, he is not winning late games. Is that about Justin Herbert, or is it about the team at large, or is it about the coach? Is it about the decision-making late in a game? A lot of questions to be asked there, but I'd rather have Justin Herbert than Kyler Murray if we're doing the Sean Payton question. But what are my thoughts on the Chargers? I thought they were going to be competing for the division. I thought they were going to be competing for the AFC. They're doing neither right now. The Chiefs have that division, and now the Chargers are fighting for a wild card spot. So once again, I get duped by the Chargers, whether it's San Diego or LA. Every time I start to believe in them, they disappoint me. But once again, I'm gonna drink the Kool-Aid next year when they hire Sean Payton, and I'm gonna believe in them. So you're up 3 in fantasy and have JT left. Should I bench him to be safe? No, I think you're going to be okay. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to have minus points in this one, so I think you're going to be okay. I think you're comfortable. I'm just checking what someone just asked me about. Someone just asked me about the safety of the Chargers. He hasn't stood out to me, so I'd have to scout him more. I'd have to get a better look at him. My thoughts on the Cowboys is they're maturing and they're progressing at the perfect time. I'm a big believer you want to play your best football from Thanksgiving through into January. And the Cowboys traditionally have played their best football in the first 2 months of the season, and then we get towards real important games towards the end of the year, and the Cowboys kind of crap out. And they're not doing that right now, and it's because of their defense. A lot of people are going to talk about the running game. A lot of people are going to talk about Dak being back. But it's the fact that this defense can actually stop opposing offenses. And in past years, they couldn't do that. They would give up late drives. They'd give up other opportunities to opposing quarterbacks. They've got a good pass rush. They play good on defense. I'm impressed by what I'm seeing. And Dan Quinn, I actually don't think Dan Quinn would be better served by being a head coach again. He's going to get the job, but I actually think Dan Quinn's one of those guys he's a great defensive coordinator. I don't necessarily think he's a great head coach. So he's just done a brilliant job, though, and you're seeing they play more physical. They are playing a Legion of Boom style defense where they're physical, they're going to hit quarterbacks, they're going to have, if you're going to make a catch, it's going to be a contested catch. I just like what I'm seeing from the defense right now, and that's one of the reasons I like the Cowboys. I don't think they catch the Eagles in the division, but I do see the Cowboys winning a playoff game. Right now it looks like the Cowboys are going to play the Buccaneers in that 4-5 matchup in the first round of the playoffs, and I see the Cowboys winning that. The Miami Dolphin defense or the Tennessee Titans defense, I'm assuming that's for next week. The Dolphins play the San Francisco 49ers. Not crazy about that. And the Titans play the Eagles. Wow, not crazy about that. I actually lean towards the Titans because the Titans against the run are a good defense, and that's what the Eagles like to do. The Eagles, when they're running the ball, that's when they're at their best. So I actually like the Titans defense in that one. Appreciate everyone joining us on this TikTok Live, Butt Fumble Sports. To hit you up or to let you know, we're a new sports content company, a new sports content network. We put out content throughout the week for fantasy, gambling, stats, everything that you need to know. But our main mission is to democratize sports media. There is no difference between you at home and the people on TV other than time, preparation, and coaching, and resources like lights in the studio and the rest. You watch TV, you watch sports, you're passionate about sports, you like to talk sports, reach out to us. We want to give fans the platform to be on-air talent. We believe every fan can be on-air talent. So if you love talking sports and you want to do it in your free time, this is the network for you. Follow us at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. That's what we're looking for, to turn you into on-air talent if that's what you're interested in. Trade D-Hop and Kamara for Stevenson and Lockett. No, I'm keeping D-Hop. I know Stevenson and Lockett are the better players, but I think D-Hop is the best player in the whole trade. Oh, if they have bye weeks, now I understand why. Okay, yeah, that's a great time to trade them. So if you're trading them before their bye weeks, that's a great lookout. I like doing that. That's a great look. That's actually something to consider for next year. I hadn't thought about that. Draft someone who has late bye weeks and then trade them right before their bye weeks, as long as you're not going to miss them come playoff time. What do you do about Mike Evans? So I mentioned this earlier. One of the player prop bets that I lost yesterday, we went 6 for 9 in our player prop bets yesterday, but one of the ones that we did miss was Mike Evans. I had over 4.5 receptions. He only had 2. Really disappointed. And I actually thought that was a microcosm of the Buccaneers, how dysfunctional their offense is. When Mike Evans isn't getting targeted 5 times in a game and doesn't have 4 catches, something's wrong. I think Tom Brady and the Bucs are a bit of a mess right now. So in fantasy, I would look towards other options week on week. It really depends on what the matchup is. If you feel good about who the Bucs are playing, we'll obviously start them. But that said, when it comes to who Mike Evans is right now, he's definitely on the decline, but I think it's as much about what's going on with Tom Brady and the offensive line as anything else. He's such a talented wide receiver. I feel like we're seeing the decline of Tom Brady. It took long enough, but finally it's happening. And unfortunately, it's coming at a moment where the Buccaneers, we expect Tom Brady to kick into gear right at this time of year, and he's just not. And I think it tells us this may be his last run. How do I feel about Josh Allen? I think Josh Allen is no longer the favorite for MVP, but certainly one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think the Buffalo Bill fans should be very lucky and blessed for the next decade to have him. But that said, I think Josh Allen, I don't like him running as much as he does. I think he's putting himself in vulnerable positions, and eventually it's going to catch up to him. He's not as fragile as Tua Tagovailoa, but sooner or later there's going to be a hit that takes him out at an important time. So if I'm Josh Allen, there are moments you need to run the ball. There are crucial moments in a game where you need to pick up yardage, but I think he runs the ball too much, and I think they design their offense around him running too much. Appreciate everyone joining us on this TikTok Live. We'll do a Twitter space tomorrow night where we'll go through the entire NFL Week 13 slate of games, giving you gambling trends for every game and early picks. I'm a big believer that early lines are where you can take advantage of what Vegas puts out. So join us tomorrow night at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Follow us as well on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Butt Fumble Sports. We want to democratize sports media. We want to hear from you, talk to fans as much as possible. We believe that you know just as much sports as the guys on TV, and we want to hear you talk about it. I mentioned earlier the Butt Fumble Sports prop bet of the night. Matt Ryan, over 20 completions. He's only been under that once this year, and he's going up against a Steelers defense that allows 272 pass yards per game, the second most in the NFL. So I like Matt Ryan, over 20 completions for today. I do think he's going to throw an interception, so that might be a prop bet you want to play. The The only reason I went with the completions is it got better odds. Completions, over 20 completions, minus 115, where the interceptions was going off at something like minus 140. Appreciate everyone who's been joining us for this TikTok Live. Going to do it for another 10 minutes, allow everyone to get in their bets and get ready for some Monday Night Football. I do want to hit on some of the things that I did see from this past week. How am I with parlays? I actually play parlays quite frequently. In years past, I would be someone who played big parlay tickets that would be 8+ teams, 10+ teams. I do that less and less because I made friends with people in Vegas who work for gambling houses, and I learned how much money they make on parlays of that kind and how often they're cashing on my money. So that said, I do a lot of 3-game parlays. Someone mentioned earlier, sometimes when you get a good 3-game parlay, that pays out just as well. The parlays I do are when, for example, I won a parlay from this past week, from week 12, in which I folded in some of the money line teams from Thanksgiving, Buffalo, Cowboys, and Vikings. I folded them into some parlays yesterday. That worked out for me. But when it comes to 8-game parlays, they're really tough to bet. Like yesterday, I would have hit on 4 or 5 different parlays of 8 games or more if the Browns hadn't beaten the Bucs. But Tom Brady and the Bucs shit the bed, and all those tickets don't cash. So when it comes to betting parlays, I feel like 4 or 5 games is where you want to stick to, and you want to diversify the bets. Also, if you're going to bet a parlay, bet those same games as individual bets. So that way you're recouping some of your loss, you're covering the loss. That's definitely something I would do. Oh, man, I feel so bad. That LSU loss was devastating for some bettors out there. I know a lot of people had faith in Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers. Sorry about that, Cowboys. Hope it goes better for you. Nick, appreciate you hearing the advice. And again, for those who just missed it, if you're going to do parlay bets, I'm all for it. But then turn those parlay bets into individual bets as well. Balance out that seesaw. If you're going to take the big risk, put in some security. Because that way, if 6 of your 8 bets in a parlay hit, you get nothing. If 6 of those 8 bets hit and you're in individual bets, you're going to be in plus money and you will have covered your other bet. Always next week, absolutely. What are my thoughts on the Colts' future? Well, I think we're going to learn a lot in the following weeks about Jeff Saturday because Jim Irsay is a wild card. I am not a fan of Jim Irsay. I don't think he's a good owner. I think he's squandered opportunities this franchise has had. This franchise has had 2 of the best quarterbacks in the last 25 years, and they only have 1 Super Bowl championships to show. And I think that's a sign of leadership and ownership. So I'm not a big fan of Jim Irsay, and I think him hiring Jeff Saturday was another wild card move. That said, Saturday has brought a lot of stability to the team, to the organization. So I think that if Saturday does well in December, I could easily see him keeping the job next year because I think Jim Irsay goes, I like this guy. He did well enough. It appeases the fans in Indiana and the Colts fans who like Jeff Saturday. But me personally, I think this team needs a bit of a rebuild. They need a new quarterback. I don't know what their identity is other than Jonathan Taylor, and I'm worried that they're going to run him into the ground and squander his best years. So for me, Jim Irsay is a wild card. I don't know what to expect, but I don't know who wants that job. The one thing I will say, Lucas Oil Stadium is one of the most beautiful stadiums in the country. It's a great place to watch a game. It's a great venue for Final Fours and the like. So Jim Irsay owns a great stadium, but as for his football team, I think there are a lot of question marks. And I think a lot of head coaches, you saw it from Nick Sirianni when the Eagles played the Colts. I think a lot of head coaches in the NFL really like Frank Reich, and the way that the Colts did him dirty, that's not going to be forgotten. I think a lot of people saw that and went, man, Jim Irsay is a bit of an asshole, and the Colts handled that really poorly. Do I want to take that job? So I think for a lot of reasons, the Colts' future is a bit more murky than it should be. Appreciate everyone who's been joining us for this TikTok Live. Again, we do a Twitter space every Tuesday at 7 p.m. at Sports Fumble. That's at Sports Fumble on Twitter. We go through every game of the upcoming week, so we'll go through every game of NFL Week 13, the gambling trends that you should be aware of, the storylines, any injuries, fantasy players, prop bets, and especially the early gambling lines, because I'm a big believer Tuesday and Sunday are great opportunities to take advantage of early gambling lines. As Bleece just put out, it's both on Twitter and on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at SportsFumble. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at ButtFumbleSports. We stream all of those on YouTube. You can catch them there. Oh my Don, I'm going with Chase. Chase. I'm a big Chase guy. I believe he's going to have just a monster stretch down in December. Appreciate everyone who's been joining us. If you missed anything that we brought up, feel free to hit us up on our different social media platforms. A few things that I want to hit on before we go. Remember, the best bet of the night for ButtFumble Sports on the player prop is Matt Ryan, over 20 completions. I am going with the Colts on the money line for this game. I'm not crazy about betting this game. I think it's going to be competitive. But what do I think is going to happen? Colts are going to win it. The Steelers, though, I would take Steelers +4. That's Colts money line, Steelers +4. Buy it up. Up by 23.8 going up against Freiermuth. I think you're going to be okay. I think Freiermuth could get a touchdown, could have a decent day, but I see him being around 15 fantasy points at his ceiling, so I think you're going to be okay. I hope it goes your way, oh my Don. Appreciate everyone who's been joining us. Want to make sure I say this as well. ButtFumble Sports wants to democratize sports media. We believe that you, the sports fan, could be on-air talent. So if you want to get into the sports media business, reach out to us, DM us on our social media platforms, on Twitter at SportsFumble, and on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at ButtFumble Sports. We believe that every fan can be on-air talent. That's why ButtFumble Sports is here. Let me know if I should make a trade. All right, tell me what the trade is. 12-man league, I got you. We love answering fantasy football questions. We love answering gambling questions. So again, if you don't want to be on-air talent, but you just want advice, you can hit us up as well. Kyler, Cook, Stevenson, Jefferson, Chase, Peoples-Jones, and Folk. Okay, first of all, not crazy about your quarterback, but okay, I understand it. Kyler Murray, for fantasy purposes, you are loaded at the wide receiver position. Bravo, because Jefferson and Chase, that is awesome to have both. I love Everett as a tight end. That's a great play. And Folk has been an outstanding kicker for you. So a really solid team. Really like that. Gunnar Olszewski, anytime touchdown score, lock of the night. I'm not going to say lock of the night. I'm rooting for you on it because plus 1,900 odds. I hope that goes off for you, even if it's for one unit. I hope that goes off for you. Rooting for you, Tampa Brady. But I don't think Gunnar is going to. But I'm certainly rooting for you. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you cash on that. Pittman and Harris to combine for 26.5. I think you're going to get there. I feel good about that one. Rooting for you. Is it dangerous to have a Cook-Jefferson stack? I don't actually think so because you're going to cash in on either one of them in the red zone and you're going to cash on either one of them between the 20s. And often it's not the same one. If you're getting Jefferson between the 20s, it's often Cook in the red zone and vice versa. So it's not one of those teams. For example, the Patriots. The Patriots are Ramondre Stevenson between the 20s. They're Ramondre Stevenson in the red zone. But the Vikings, they kind of balance it out between the 20s and the red zone. So I don't think that's an issue. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to get plus 30 tonight, so unfortunately I don't think it's going to work out for you if you have that. Is there another stack that may be better? For the upcoming week, I'm sure there is. Feel free to join us on some of our Twitter Spaces or TikTok Lives, and we'll be hooking that up. I think the Buckeyes should make the playoffs. I think they're the best one-loss team that's out there in the country. I actually thought LSU's loss really helped them because I think LSU will lose to Georgia. I don't think Alabama should get in. And I think USC would be a fun team to watch, but I think the Buckeyes should get in. All right, James Bond, rooting for you. The stack you were talking about. Oh, Cook and Hawkinson. Okay. I mean, I like Cook and Jefferson more. But I think that goes without saying. If I'm getting that wrong, Chase, just hit me up at SportsFumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I can answer that if I'm getting it wrong. Oh, okay. You're saying Cook for Hawkinson. I got you now. Sorry, my bad. Who are your other running backs? I don't like to give up a running back usually for a tight end because a tight end isn't a highly valued position. You can usually find someone on the waiver wire each week at tight end to get you between 7 and 10 points, which is usually all you need out of that position. So you only have Stevenson and Cook. I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't give up a running back for a tight end. You're not, unless you've got other running backs. I don't think you're deep enough at the position. Appreciate all of you joining us for this TikTok Live. Yeah, exactly, Chase. Keep the team as you told me. Yep, now I understand. Keep it as you told me. Yep. Appreciate all of you joining us on this TikTok Live as we preview Monday Night Football. I know we didn't actually end up previewing as much as I thought we would. We ended up answering a lot of fantasy football questions. We will absolutely do TikTok Lives again. Love talking to you guys and hitting me up. Give me your questions. Love providing the advice. I do this research. We'll show you some behind the scenes throughout the week. But I do this research every day for this new network. Butt Fumble Sports is a new sports content network where we believe every fan can be on-air talent. We want to democratize sports media, give every fan the opportunity to be on-air talent. And we're building content right now. We put out fantasy picks and fantasy plays, gambling picks every week. We'll put out waiver wire watch tomorrow and Wednesday, start, flex, and sit throughout the week. We'll put out gambling plays, player prop bets, everything that you need to have a successful week. And it's not just in football. We put out DFS for the NBA. We'll put out picks across the week. So everyone, appreciate you joining us. As Chase is doing, it's time for Monday Night Football. So enjoy tonight's game between the Steelers and the Colts. Appreciate everyone joining us one last time. Our social media handles, follow us at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Appreciate all of you joining us. Have a great night and enjoy Monday Night Football.